Namaste, greetings and blessings, and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts. This is our Sunday message, and I am Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson, the founder and spiritual director of this center. And I invite you to watch not only this Sunday message, but any of our archived messages. I invite you to join any classes or events that we have going on. I invite you to reach out and email if you have any questions. Questions about this community, questions about me, questions about what we do, or questions about this science of mind and spirit, liberation theology that we practice and teach. And if by chance you find yourself seeking beloved community with other like-minded beings, even if you already belong, are a member of another community, church, or center, you are more than free to have multiple affiliations wherever you are fed and find community. You are invited. And lastly, feel free to click like, subscribe, and share this or any other message or announcements with others in your circle. And with that, much appreciation, love, and blessings. Enjoy the message. Namaste and greetings as we close out the month of April, fertilizing our future. Today we are talking about embracing the power of regenerativity. Take that word in one more time. Regenerativity. What does it mean to cultivate continuous growth and renewal in our lives? Note, while not becoming obsessed with the concept of growth, because that's very capitalistic in ideology. So, but how do we contemplate? How do we cultivate? How do we nurture this energy of continuous growth and renewal? If we are to reorient such things as challenges in our lives as opportunities, opportunities for new beginnings and fresh starts, rather than looking at the challenges as being necessary for the challenges happen. It's part of life. How do we take this challenge, this obstacle, this weight, and use it as an opportunity, reframe it, use alchemy and transform it? So, how do we do this? If we are to apply spiritual principles to all of our learning in terms of how to integrate sustainable, and therein lies a big key thing, sustainable practices of our development, of our healing, of our transformation regarding our consciousness as it shows up in our daily routine, like how do we do this? What does that look like? And if we're going to foster a new mental equivalent, a mindset of regenerativity, one that transforms all of these obstacles and all of this lead into gold and all of the coal into the diamond, we transform it into this thing that gives us an opportunity and a chance for evolution, for growth, for what we are being invited to become. In order to do all of this, what must we embody? What must we practice? What must we do? Not just once, but what must we do again and again and again? So once again, as we dive in, let's clarify a couple of terms. We may remember this from an English class back in the day. Simply being a prefix that means back or again, right? To go back or to do something again, to rearrange, go back and arrange it again. Return, to go back home, to turn again and go back, right? So we know this. So okay. Generative, relating to or that which is capable of production or reproduction, to produce again. Regenerate, to grow again, as in to regrow, to replace lost limbs or tissue, etc., to give a new part of the body, the being, the essence. Okay? And as it says, especially in Christian use, to give a new and higher spiritual nature to. We good so far? Okay. Regeneration, the action or process of regenerating or being regenerated. In particular, the formation of a new animal or plant tissue. Now, keep in mind, as we're going through these general definitions, think about how does this show up spiritually? How does this show up emotionally? Now, regenerative, that which is tending to or characterized by regeneration. How do we generate again and again and again the formation of a new mental equivalent? How do we, stay open at the top and open at the bottom? So breathe. So when we're thinking about this, because this goes into what our theme for today is: embrace, to adopt, to encompass, to comprehend, to support, to envelop, to hold, to entwine. How are we embracing the energy of regenerativity? What must we adopt? What are we invited to comprehend? How do we entwine this energy into our everyday living? Now, in many circles, the idea of embracing the power of regenerativity is generally expressed as the propensity and willingness to engage in acts that promote the well-being of younger generations as a way of ensuring the long-term survival of the species. This shows up in ways such as having children or grandchildren, passing down various traditions and skills, mentoring, creating art, investing in the community. Now, regenerativity, for us, let's continue. Making plans for the future, becoming involved in one's community, striving for one's own and one's cultural and social and community's excellence. How are we showing up in this way, embracing the power of versus being stagnant, one's inability to, the lack and scarcity that's referencing as in lack of motivation and a desire to change? I'm good. I'm going to just stay the way I am. I'm comfortable. Stagnation, make America great again, is a consciousness of stagnation. Making plans for the future, forward, make it great again. Let's go back and recapture the energy of nostalgia of whatever that is, stagnation. It is not the consciousness of regenerativity. So, thinking about this energy, this power, and what it means to embrace it, Dr. Holmes says, the divine is the substance of all things and the law of all things. And there is everlasting motion and freedom. The spirit is the stream of life throughout creation, forever purifying and renewing everything, regenerating everything. How do we allow this to show up in, through, and as our lives? How do we demonstrate a recognition and the embodiment that we know that the divine is the substance of all things? If it's the substance of all things, that includes you and your body. It is the law of all things that includes your mental equivalence and how you navigate this thing called life. Now, oftentimes, we don't perceive life in this way. We perceive life as a struggle. We see life as a series of challenges and obstacles and suffering that we must endure in order to learn something, because that's what our soul contract demands. No, no. As Sisyphus rolled the boulder up only for it to, as part of his curse, only to watch it roll back down, to roll it back up, to watch it roll back down forever. That was his curse. In what way do we see our health or our finances in the same way, as a challenge that we are forever dealing with? The idea of climate change is no matter what we do, it's always, we watch the challenges regarding the destabilization of democracy, the challenges that arise as we face trauma, anxiety, trust issues, all of these things and more are some of the things that we are being invited to reframe, to heal, to shift, to evolve in order to step into the embracing energy, the embracing of the power of regenerativity. Regenerativity is what gives us the ability to tell the boulder no more. As it says in the Bible, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you will be able to tell that mountain to move from there to there, to tell that boulder, the health challenge, the finances, the issues with climate change, political corruption, tell that thing to move and to be gone, to be changed, to be transformed, rather than being cursed by and potentially rolled over or bulldozed over by it. Dr. Holmes says, spirit is forever unfolding its own nature. Regenerativity, forever unfolding its own nature. In the physical universe, it does so independently of our thought. In our personal lives, it must do its renewing activity through our thinking, through our mental equivalence. To the degree that our thinking accords with the original nature, our divine nature, the nature of spirit, the same harmony will operate in our affairs that already operates in the larger world that we experience, but neither create nor control. So think of it this way. Gravity exists. How do I, as a skateboarder, employ that which exists? I neither control nor create gravity. But how do I operate within the harmony of what I know gravity does in order to do and flip the skateboard a certain number of rotations, knowing that me above it, how long it will take for me to now land back on it, maintain my balance, and go? How do we learn how to embody and operate using our own nature, which is the nature of spirit, to be able to move through in harmonious and life-affirming ways as we operate within the nature of God as the embodied nature of God? There's no difference. So how do we consciously do this? How do we consciously bring this awareness to our thinking, our speaking or communication, our emotions and our feelings, and our actions? It is often said, in every life, some rain must fall. Okay, rain's going to fall. Life is not about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain and dancing in the rain. Yes, exactly. We have the opportunity. And how are we choosing to acknowledge what's going on? There's a storm, there's rain. What is mine to do? Umbrella? Sing, dance? Or, depending on what the storm is, what mine may be to do is protect myself. Sometimes the best course of action is not to dance in the storm, but to get to a safe space. Get in the storm cellar. Those are tornado sirens. Get to a safe. There's a tornado coming up. No, this is about being the wisdom of, what did that previous slide say about Dr. Holmes? Spirit is forever unfolding its nature. Part of its nature is wisdom. Wisdom says there's a storm coming. This is not the time to dance and sing in it. This is the time to gather family and friends and be safe. Discernment. Are we able to discern when it is time to sing and dance versus? Do we know, such as the plants, when is it time to hibernate versus grow and bloom? Just a question. It has been said that there possibly is not an atom in the body that is over a year old. The body is constantly renewing itself, taking in new material and discarding the old. The body is forever rebuilding, replacing, repairing. And it is all done in accord with a plan, with a pattern that can only be, as we have seen, an idea, a concept, or thought, or of thought. Thought at the spiritual level of creativity. Thought in the mind that is God. There's only one mind, and that mind is God. And the thoughts in that mind are God expressing as thought. And that thought is a pattern, and that pattern shows up as the body. That pattern tells the heart what to do. So the heart doesn't respond as though the heart thinks it's a kidney or the kidneys think they're lungs. There is a pattern that tells them all what to do and how to do, how to regenerate and how to grow. Tells the skin it is time to fluff off as new skin regenerates. So there's a wisdom, an intelligence, a divine intelligence, a universal intelligence. If we are saying, I just had my 59th birthday, I'm getting so old, I don't know what. Is that me demonstrating that I am aware and actively embodying the idea that the body is constantly renewing itself? If I am affirming and declaring that I am growing old, as though growing old is a non-life affirming thing, because once you hit a certain age, things start to sag and things start to creak in a way that, oh my. Is that affirming life? Is that affirming? Now, I can say I am 59 years old, fine, as a linguistic convenience. But am I responding to life as though I'm so old? I don't care if I'm 101. My intention is to continue to remain fountain of youth, forever springing forth. I will be 101 and still act like a 5-year-old if I have my way. Sorry, Tracy. So are we affirming that we understand that this is a new body? This is not the same body we had when we were 10 years old. This is not the same body we had when we were 2 years old. This is not the same body we had when we were 50 years old. It's not the same body. It's renewing, rebuilding, replacing, revitalizing, reforming, resurrecting itself. So how are we stewarding this awareness? How are we stewarding this open at the top and open at the bottom re-generativity? As Dr. Holmes reminds us, a small cut, the doctor can bandage. But as for the actual healing, the doctor does nothing. Infinite life knows how to renew the cells, knows how to knit them together, how to rebuild the blood vessels and the nerves. But, and this is the important point, through prayer, through declaration, through awareness, we may assist, we may promote, and we may speed up the healing action. Our mental equivalent affects the healing response. As we align our thinking with the creative action of infinite intelligence, as we knowingly accept, embody, and permit its increased action through the cut, this healing is what occurs. We are not responsible for creating that action, but we are 100% responsible for knowing, embodying, and permitting such action to take place in us and as us. And whether it's a cut on the finger, as Dr. Holmes says, or wherever the cut is, or whether it's a broken heart from a divorce or a relationship that has failed, abandonment, trauma, worry, PTSD, doesn't matter what it is. The healing process is the same. There is an infinite life that knows how to renew, how to knit together, how to rebuild our emotions, our mind, our body, our spirit, all of it. It is the same because God is the same. So if God responds one way in one place, God responds the same way every place. So if this is how the infinite intelligence demonstrates physical healing, then there is a corresponding mental, emotional, spiritual, relationship related, financial, societal. The healing is the same. Confucius says, our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Falling is going to happen, whatever that falling may be. I wrote a check and it bounced. I failed. I have fallen. And as the commercial years ago would say, I've fallen and I can't get up. Many of us have fallen due to relationships or trauma, due to the confusion related to political corruption. We have fallen and we can't get up because we are not taking on, we are not embracing the divine power of our being. So we get to choose a new declaration. I have fallen. And because I know who and what I am, and I know that the power of the universe is incarnating in me, I now choose to get up. I choose to rise anew. No matter how many times we fall, we get to choose to get up or not to get up. That is the question. No matter how many times, right? As this young lady is showing us, this is a part of this activity. Falling is necessary as part of the event, as part of the learning, as part of the trying different skills. The question isn't, you should never fall. But as Paulo Coelho says, the secret of life is to fall 7 times and to get up 8 times. No matter how many times we fall, rise again. No matter how many times we, whatever, make a mistake, rise again. Regenerate the mental equivalent. In the modern day mythology of Batman, there's a particular one of the versions of the movie. This line, this quote was said. Bruce Wayne's father said, "And why do we fall, Bruce? So we can learn to pick ourselves up." Maybe true, maybe not true. I don't even want to debate that right now because I don't think it's necessarily true. But for the sake of conversation, it is what it is. We fall and we learn to pick ourselves up. But as Robin says, holy remix, Batman. Yes, remix. Breathe. We fall, not to learn to pick ourselves up, but rather we fall because it is a part of life. Because some fall and they don't learn to get up. So it's not inherent that that's going to happen. It's a part of life. As is learning how and then choosing to pick ourselves up. And as we learn to do that for ourselves, we also recognize when another has fallen and we can step in, choose to step in and help them stand up, help them rise up, help them alchemize whatever and transform it from lead into gold until such time as they understand how to do it for themselves. Just as young Bruce Wayne fell down the well, he couldn't get himself out. His father rappelled down, grabbed him, and took him out. And that's when he said, why do we fall, Bruce? So that we can learn to pick ourselves up. But in that moment, Bruce couldn't do it for himself. So his father did it. How do we show up as the beloved community to do for others who may not in that moment be able to do for themselves? Our regenerativity isn't for our own sake to hoard. We regenerate body, mind, and soul so that we are a beneficial presence in the world. That's how we create a world that works for all. But if I'm only focused on, I'm enlightened, why aren't you? What's in your consciousness? What? No, no. I am enlightened as the Buddha. The Buddha has awakened, but the Buddha did not awaken simply for himself. When he awakened and became the Buddha, the awakened one, all were awakened. Not all recognize it, though. So it's not for us to keep to hoard to precious, my precious, for those Lord of the Ring fans. That's not the purpose. Good Samaritan, share it, be it, love it. All of your work begins and ends in your consciousness because mind is all there is. It says that in the Kabbalion. Mind is all there is, and the universe is mind. This is a mental universe. All of your work begins and ends in your consciousness. Now, the ending in your consciousness, I understand where he's going, but I'm not going to let it end there because there is the active part of it. Begins in your consciousness, it moves through your mind, your communication, your emotions, and your feelings, and it shows up as actions, and the cycle continues. In making a demonstration, you have not one iota of responsibility. It all rests in mind. We are surrounded by a thinking stuff which permeates all the inner spaces of the universe. It is the original, it was, is, and always shall be. Now, when he says, you have not one iota of responsibility, you have not one iota of responsibility in terms of making the plant grow. But you have 100% responsibility in tilling the ground, fertilizing it, planting the seed, nurturing the seed, removing any insects or weeds that may be strangling or impeding the blooming of the growing of the plant, let alone the blooming, but the growing of the plant, ensuring that it is getting enough sunlight. 100% responsibility. How that seed breaks open and how the breaks through and through the earth and grows. No, you don't have responsibility of that. The universe does that. But you do, we do have 100% responsibility in the rest of the process. 100%. Breathe. When I was in middle school, one of our field trips, when I was in Spanish, we went to go see The Man of La Mancha. And I mention this specifically because toward the end, no spoilers, but toward the end, Don Quixote de la Mancha is laying in bed and Dulcinea and Sancho come to him. And one of them says, well, she says, my lord, you are not well. And he says, not well? What is illness to the body of a knight errant? What matter wounds? For each time he falls, he shall rise again. And woe to the wicked, woe to the wicked. Sancho, my armor, here your grace, my sword, my shield. Yes, to dream the impossible dream. And then da 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 da. Yes. What is illness to the body of one who knows spiritual principle, embodies them, and practices? What matter the wounds of body, mind, soul when we engage in the healing practice? Yes, this is what my body feels, and yes, this is the diagnosis, and yes, this is what is going on. And I have this spiritual practice that gives me the ability to navigate with this, not deny it, not suppress it, not ignore it, but to pull it in, fully embracing it, and doing what is mine to do regarding it. Same thing with whatever is going on in the world. War. What matter war to one who is aware of spirit, aware of principle? For I understand and I know what is mine to do. I will not speak truth to power, for that is not what power is. I will speak truth, spiritual principle, and truth. I will speak it powerfully to those who are clueless, to those who are ignorant of the power of love, the power of the universe, the power of wisdom, the power of belonging. I will speak truth powerfully to that and watch it like the Tower of Babel crumble before me. And from the ashes, I will bring the healing presence that I understand, and I will offer it to those who before did not know. I will give them the opportunity to know. And in that is their opportunity to choose anew. Is that how we're moving through our lives? As people who know and are practicing this knowing? Breathe. You know how earlier I mentioned the idea of growing and becoming and growing and becoming aligned with toxic capitalism? This is our opportunity to break free from that, because rest is resistance. Great book, by the way, if you haven't read it. Is our opportunity to reclaim the spiritual power of rest. Free yourself from grind culture, from toxic capitalism, and reclaim your life. In what ways do you engage in grind culture? Gotta do, gotta do, gotta do. Always on the go. Never time for rest. I'll rest when I'm dead. Wait, what? Funny thing is, if that's the way you're living, then technically you're already dead, because you're not living your life on your terms. You're living it on the terms determined by the collective consciousness. As the author says, treating each other and ourselves with care isn't a luxury, but it is an absolute necessity if we are going to thrive. Resting isn't and cannot be an afterthought. Rather, it is a basic part of being human. It is our divine right to rest. And we can even take the Genesis story of creation metaphysically. What happened on the seventh day? What did God do on the seventh day? Rested. So why would we not? Metaphysically speaking, why would we not? Why would we not also engage in the divine spiritual practice of the nap ministry? Take a nap, chill, recline, rest. Give yourself the opportunity to rejuvenate, to renew. That's when your mind powers down, your body powers down, so that the batteries of can recharge themselves, so that when you awaken, you are ready to be your magnificent, divine, spiritual self. As Dr. Sean Ginwright says, one of the most underestimated challenges to justice is rest. Rest is not just sleep, meaningless hibernation, inactive slumber, or useless dormancy. Rest is an act of freedom, a middle finger to oppression. Let that sink in. When you rest, you tell toxic capitalism, be gone, you have no power here. When you rest, you tell political corruption, racism, sexism, you have no power here. I will not let you rob me further. I will not let you rob me at all. My boundary is set. I know my spiritual power and truth. I will not let you touch that. Are we willing to, and I mean really embody that at a whole new level? What encourages and sustains your perennial consciousness and life expression? How do you continue to recharge, revitalize, renew, rebuild, and resurrect oneself, yourself? By any chance, do you know this word, entelechy? Okay. Entelechy, a Greek word in philosophy, has to do with that which realizes or makes actual what is otherwise merely potential. A seed, in and of itself, isn't the plant. The potential for the plant rests in the seed. So entelechy is that which realizes, makes the seed grow. Entelechy. I have in me the potential to write a book. Entelechy is what moves through me into fingers that type on the keyboard into the document that then becomes paper, that then gets sent to the publisher, that then becomes a book, that then gets. Entelechy is the thing that moves us to action. Aristotle invented the word entelechy to refer to a thing that has its own principle of development within it. A vital force that propels it forward to become fully what it is. A human embryo, while dependent on others, especially the mother, already has within it a roadmap to develop into a fully formed human and the self-organization to get there, provided the embryo receives what it needs to support its growth. A standard computer doesn't possess entelechy. It has to be assembled, and it has to be programmed. It cannot assemble its own component parts and grow into a fully developed version of itself the way a sapling becomes a sequoia. This goes for the embryo as well, by the way. The embryo in and of itself cannot assemble its own components. It needs to be where it is in order to grow. The seed cannot grow and become a sequoia simply by sitting in the palm of my hand. It needs to be in the soil so that entelechy makes it move and propels it forward to become what it already is, to bring that potential into realized manifestation. How are we embodying entelechy? Ask yourself, how am I allowing the energy of spirit to propel me forward and upward or inward or something word, reword? I don't know. I'm making up stuff at this point. For you, what is the realization of your potential? And maybe there isn't just one realization. Maybe there's what are the multiple realizations of your potential, right? Like I had the realization of my potential as a sign language interpreter, performer, teacher. The realization of myself as an artist who draws, who paints, who sculpts, photography. My realization as a martial artist, Aikido, ninjutsu, kung fu, the realization of myself as a parent, a grandparent, a sibling, my realization as a minister and a practitioner. There are various realizations of how our infinite potential can show up. Are we aware of this? Are we aware of any of it? Faith acts like a law because it is a law. It is the law of mind in action. When we realize this, we no longer feel that we must have faith in ourselves as isolated beings, but rather that as human beings, we are included in the great law of life. There is only one life, and that life is God. Then we can rest in complete confidence. Rest is resistance, you say, though. Yes, we can rest in complete confidence that our words spoken in this life affirming faith are the presence and the power and the activity of the infinite spirit in, through, and as us. All effort to make things happen or to concentrate the mind, to exert the will, all of that is pushed aside. And with a childlike acceptance, we make known our request with gratitude and thanksgiving because we understand and we know we are one with God. God is us. Nothing can separate us from the source. It's not possible. How are we engaging this law, the law of life affirming faith? Or are we using non life affirming faith? Are we using the law to create, to manifest things we do not want? The Science of Mind and Spirit 4.0 offers us a means and a method to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. This perennial consciousness gives us the capacity to make the necessary changes in our lives and in the world. We see what needs to be uprooted, what needs to be nurtured, what needs repotting, and what needs to be planted in the first place. And this teaching enables us to till the soil and to sow effectively, to be ever open at the top and open at the bottom and ever evolving. We rise, we rest, we renew, we re-emerge, we reinvent, and we reinforce the power of love, healing truth, and the prophetic vision of community. Brave. This week's affirmation, our declaration, I will say it first, and if it resonates with you, I invite you to say it with me the second time. I embrace and embody my regenerative power, renewing my potential with each cycle of life and each waking moment. Together. I embrace and embody my regenerative power, renewing my potential with each cycle of life and each waking moment. And so it is. Breathe. This week's journal questions or Thursday night study questions, even though we're still in April, so Tracy's not doing this in April, but do it on your own. And when we come back in May, Tracy's back in May. Number one, what do I do to cultivate a perennial consciousness and the embodiment of it? How do I embrace and act upon the renewing of my mind and all that that entails? How do I embrace and act upon my entelechy? How does rest factor into my life as a conscious practice? What are the signs that tell me I am not resting my body, my mind, and my spirit enough, or that I'm not resting effectively? What are the signs? When I've fallen, how did I pick myself up? How have others picked me up? How have I picked others up? In what ways do I practice the consciousness of suffering is necessary for my growth? What can I do to release this belief? And lastly, based on the evidence, how effective am I stewarding my life? Breathe as we enter into that space of infinite awareness that we call prayer. Simply anchoring in this moment, recognizing the infinite awareness and the infinite power and the infinite presence of the universe, of God, of spirit, of love as us right now. So I speak this knowing that everything that we discussed is moving through the cells of our bodies. It is bouncing between the atoms and the molecules and the nuclei of all that we are. The energy. It is moving between the breath, between the inhale and the exhale, there. Between the expansion and contraction of the heart, it's there. Between this thought and that thought, it's there. Between the pause that separates one word from the other, it's there. It's all of it, seen and unseen, impossible to see, and that which is yet to be seen. It's all of it. This infinite power and presence, which means it's right where we are as us. So I speak this knowing that right now, everything that was discussed is moving as we embody it, moving as we express it, moving as we live it. And in so doing, we pick ourselves up, brush ourselves off, and do the dance again. We do what is ours to do to heal ourselves, one another, our community, our families, our culture, the collective consciousness, and the world. We do what is ours to do. The potential is already there. Entelechy is already there. Peace on earth, it's there. But we must be the ones to till the soil, plant the seeds, nurture and care for, from sowing to harvest. We are the ones. And so right now, knowing that we are engaging the life-affirming law of faith, the law of mind and action to do precisely this work. With gratitude, I stand back and marvel at the magnificent way that each of us does precisely that. Shows up as the living embodiment of the embracing of this power that re-generativity expresses. Open at the top, open at the bottom, expressing God as all that we are. And so it is. And so it is. Blessings, everyone. So just a note, next Monday. Did he really just say next Monday? Next Sunday is the first Sunday of the month. So remember that that is Fellowship Sunday, first Sunday of the month. So if you would like to join us, if you don't already have the Zoom link, just send an email and you'll get the Zoom link, and feel free to join us. It's open to everybody. Fellowship, conversation, stuff, laughter, all the stuff. But otherwise, have an amazing and blessed week, and I will see you soon.